Welcome to This Must Be Heard, a recurring podcast featuring discussions of Delaware County Community College's events, achievements, and initiatives. Today, Jack Durham and Alexandra Johnson talk with Dr. Jill Spelina about her graduate research and her decision to become a college professor. Thank you for listening.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jack Durham, and I'm here with my co-host, Alexandra Johnson. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Jack. I'm excited. I think this is going to be a really good episode.
I am really excited too, and I'm glad to hear that you're doing well. As you know, our guest is Dr. Jill Spelina, and she's here to talk about her academic pathway to becoming a professor here at Delaware County Community College. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Spelina. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Jack. It's a pleasure to meet both you and Alex.
I'm glad to hear that you're doing great. Alex, would you like to start us off with our first question?
Yeah, sure thing. So now, Dr. Spelina, can you just kind of give us a brief overview of your post-graduation education, kind of what your area of expertise is?
Absolutely. So I have an undergraduate degree in math education, and so I went on to pursue a degree in mathematical sciences because I was required to do so to keep my teaching certification. Along the way, I've picked up master's degrees in industrial engineering, systems engineering, and most recently, I decided to pursue a doctorate degree from Villanova University in engineering.
Thank you for sharing. That's really interesting. Can you tell me about why you transitioned from your mathematics master's to a more applied field like engineering?
Absolutely. So I look at mathematics. There's typically two fields of theoretical math and applied math, and I was more applied. And so I felt that going into engineering gave me more application of my mathematics rather than some theory. So I could apply the mathematical concepts that I know.
So I had a question about your graduate studies, Dr. Spelina. Now, you had several degrees, obviously. So did you take a more traditional student path for your first degrees and maybe a more non-traditional path later on? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So my first master's degree is truly traditional, straight out of my bachelor's degree, right into my master's program, which was similar to a lot of the people in the program. So we were all traditional students in my first master's. When I went on to Villanova had a part-time engineering program. So there was a mix of traditional PhD students and non-traditional PhD students, mostly traditional, but there were several of us that were non-traditional as well.
Did you do any research assistant or teaching assistant jobs in your graduate experience?
I did both. In my first master's, I actually did a teaching assistantship where I taught an introduction to computers and math for the elementary education major at that particular time. And in my PhD program, I wasn't expecting to do research because I was a part-time student, but I actually had a research assistantship because my advisor had a grant. So I got to do some research.
So you got your first experience teaching college students at your graduates program. Were any of your peers in your graduates programs non-traditional students? And what do you think made them stand out compared to traditional students?
As I said previously, most of my first master's degree students, we were all traditional students. It wasn't until I got to my PhD, one of my master's degrees, as well as my PhD, where we were more non-traditional students who were working full-time, going to school at night, trying to balance work, school, and everything that goes along with this. It was very difficult, I would think, because we were working a full day and then having to go to class and then figure out when we were going to squeeze in doing our work.
Yeah, I can only imagine how much you had to juggle. But it's really great, that you're doing this interview because it kind of shows that you can really do it all, And
I'm sure it's pretty relevant to the people here at Delaware County.
Absolutely. I couldn't encourage my students to continue their education if I chose not to do so myself. And it made me understand what a lot of my students who are non-traditional go through on a daily basis of trying to balance everything. If they would say, you don't understand, I could say, but I do.
So after hearing your experience, I'm sure that there are some people that will want to look into doing academic research at their 4-year transfer institution. Is there any advice that you have for those students?
The advice that I would give them is to make sure that they enjoy what they're doing or they think they're going to enjoy what they're doing. Pick something they're going to like. And if they get into it and they don't like it, seek opportunities to find something different. You want to make sure that you're happy and you enjoy what your research is and what you're doing in school. And if you don't, find other options to change that.
Yeah, I really like that answer. I think that's really good advice that you can always change. Even, once you start something, you don't necessarily have to do that for the rest of your life.
Absolutely. I actually had to change my research halfway through my PhD program. Totally fine. It was still at least in the same field of automotive research. but we changed parts of the engine that we were researching.
So you were doing automotive research in your PhD. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So I started out doing, I'm going to call it engine knock controller. So I would say the emissions from your engine. So that's where I started. And to me, we didn't do anything on a live engine. Everything was simulation or on a fake engine because we don't want to blow up an engine. That's not a good thing. And then I actually moved to engine knock control. So earlier in the process, the things that actually help you with good gas mileage and keeping your engine tuned. So it was very interesting. Not at all what I expected to be doing. You would say, hey, are you going to do automotive research? Never in a million years would I have thought that's what I would be doing. But I truly enjoyed it. It was simulation. It was mathematics. It was everything. It was statistics. It was everything I enjoyed doing. So it was a nice place for me to be and end up.
What came out of that research? I'm curious. Is a part that you designed now in the car I'm driving?
So actually it's not. So a standard knock controller is basically what's in your car now. And so basically I call it poking the dragon. So it increases your timing until your engine makes a knock, and then it pulls it back. In order for something to be implemented into a car, there needs to be major differences. We did make a difference. Our controller was a lot better and controlled things a lot nicer. However, I don't think it made enough difference for the automotive manufacturing companies to change everything that they're doing. But we did make a difference, and some people are carrying on that research now. So a grad student took on my research, and he's furthering it. So maybe someday it might end up in a car. I don't know.
Do you think
That's
that
so cool.
academic research is really important for like the general world?
Particularly in engineering, absolutely. If we don't do our academic research, nothing's going to change in the engineering field. And we have to make changes. Things have to become better. We have to do things better for our environment, do things better for people as a whole. So yeah, academic research is critical because those things wouldn't happen.
Well, unfortunately, we are about out of time, but that is a great note to end on.
That's right, Alex. We are running out of time. I want to thank Alex for being my co-host today, and I want to thank Dr. Spelina for all of her shared insight. I also want to thank all of our This Must Be Heard listeners, and I want to encourage everyone to reach out at their four-year transfer institutions and get involved in academic research. Have a good one, everybody.
You've been listening to This Must Be Heard, brought to you by the New Media Lab and Campus Life. Today's hosts were Jack Durham and Alexandra Johnson. Jack also produced this episode alongside co-executive producer Tashia White. Our guest today was Dr. Jill Spelina. This episode was edited by Aidan Riley. Colleen Meehan prepared our title cards. Victoria Culbreth and Samuel Larson designed our cover art. Indigo Frazier composed our theme music, and I am Alyssa Tino, your announcer for this episode. Please be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Currently enrolled students can email us at nml@mail.dccc.edu for more info about joining the New Media Lab. Thanks again for listening.